Alright, as we're working on solving quadratic equations, this is a long process with a lot of steps. You may need to watch the videos more than once. That's not unusual at all. It takes a while to learn this. I'm going to do this next problem on a clean sheet of paper. I just don't think there's going to be enough room on the notes packet, so I'm going to move to another sheet of paper. Alright, the problem is x squared equals 2x minus 9. Now remember, I've got my index card handy. The quadratic formula can only be used when the equation has all of the terms on one side set equal to 0 on the other side. You always have to check for that first. And this equation, I don't even see a 0, so it's not ready to solve with the quadratic formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move 2x to the other side and minus 9 to the other side. What I'm doing when I do that is I'm literally subtracting 2x from both sides. So I get x squared. Now I can't take 2x away from x squared, so I just write subtract 2x equals, and what's left over here is a minus 9. Now I'm not quite there yet. I've got to get the minus 9 over there also. So how do I undo minus 9? I do plus 9. And again, 9 is not a like term with either 2x or x squared. So when I rewrite this, I just write x squared minus 2x plus 9. What's left over here? 0. Alright, so this process of getting all the terms on one side, do you see what it actually does? See the 2x over here? It was positive. When I move it to the other side, it becomes subtracted, or negative. The 9 was a minus 9. When I move it to the other side, it becomes plus 9. So if you don't want to do all this work of adding and subtracting terms to both sides, just think about moving the terms to the other side, and when they jump across the equal sign, they become their opposite. If it was plus or positive 2x, it becomes minus. If it's minus 9, it becomes plus. So that can just be very quick. You can get rid of all these steps. Alright, we're actually ready to begin our quadratic equation now, because all the terms are on one side set equal to 0. So remember what our first step always is? Make your list. A is, B is, C is. And now that it's in standard form, I can find my A. Oh, but wait a minute, there's nothing in front of X. But if you remember, if I have a bare naked variable, I can always put 1 in front of it. So A is 1. So the coefficient of the x squared term. B is negative 2. Now remember, when you see a minus sign instead of a plus sign, that indicates that that letter, that variable, is negative. Alright, and a plus 9, or just 9. Alright, I'm ready to begin using the quadratic formula with these 3 numbers to fill in the various places in the formula. So we begin with x equals opposite of B. Alright, we look at B, and B is negative 2. I want the opposite of that. Be careful with this, please. So it's going to be positive 2. Then my plus or minus sign, then my square root sign, and inside negative 2 squared. Remember to use those parentheses. Subtract the 4 that's always in the formula, and then a pocket for A and a pocket for C. So my A is 1 and my C is 9. Put the quotient underneath, or the dividing bar, and on the bottom, remember, it's 2 times A, so 2 pocket 1. Alright, now we begin simplifying this side of the equation, and what I usually do is I like to simplify the bottom first because that's always easy. 2 times 1. And then I'm less likely to forget it. 2 times 1 is 2. And then I go work on what's under the square root sign. Negative 2 times itself is 4. Subtract 4 times 1 is 4 times 9 is 36. Alright, let's go again and subtract under the square root sign. So 4 minus 36. So I've got everything ready here. Got the 2 plus or minus, got my square root sign, got my quotient bar divided by 2. 4 minus 36, well, isn't that negative 32? how are we going to do this? Alright, remember that we can find the square root of a negative number because we know about this imaginary number I. So what I'm going to do with this problem is I'm going to break it apart into its two pieces now. Okay? And any terms that are added or subtracted all over the same denominator can be split apart. So I can make one of these answers 2 over 2 plus, I'm just going to do the plus one first, square root of negative 32 also over 2. Think about why you can do that. If I add these two back together, won't it be 2 plus the square root of 32 all over 1, 2? And I can break them apart just for that same reason. Alright, remember there's two answers to these. Alright, there's my first one, and the other one is going to be just like this, except with a minus sign in between. So 2 over 2, but this time minus negative square root of 32 over 2. Alright, and the reason I broke this apart into two denominators, because this part is going to be the real number, and this part is going to be the imaginary number in my complex expression. So let's finish this up. I got 2 over 2 is 1 plus, now remember how we're going to do this? This is the same as the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 32, which will be the square root of 32 times I. And we'll get our calculator out in a minute, but don't forget that that's over 2. Okay? Let's go to the other one. X equals 2 over 2 is 1. Subtract, and this is going to look just like this. It's going to be square root of 32I over 2. Now notice the I is not inside the square root sign. Alright, the final thing I need to do is calculate this piece right here. What is the square root of 32 over 2? It's going to be a decimal that will round, and then we can finish up our answer. So square root sign, put in the 32, turn on the calculator, that always helps. Square root sign, put in the 32, and press equals, and again we're going to round these to the nearest, to 3 decimal places, so 5.657. 5.657. And don't forget the I following it. Oh, you know what? I forgot to divide that by 2. Hang on a second. Divide by 2. Alright, that's better. Alright, so we get 2.828I. So be careful. I forgot to divide by 2. Now, we still have this 1 out front. So we have one of our answers is x equals 1 plus this amount that we calculated times I. And our other answer is going to be x equals 1 subtract. Now, square root of 32 over 2 we already know is this 2.828I. And there we have it, our two answers. And if you need to, watch this video again. There's a lot of steps.